Well, I'm not off to a great start this morning, but I'm off, and maybe that should be good enough for me. Good morning. Back in Naples, back in Orlando. I don't know why I'm thinking. Why did that happen? That's Freudian. No, Freudian? What is that? I don't know. I was, back in Naples, back in Orlando, back in Winter Park. I don't want to be back in Naples. My friend Lewis, he messaged me before he left, or after the wedding. He messaged me and just told me all this shit that was going on, apparently in the big secret. And it was a big secret because it wasn't even on he didn't post it anywhere on his Facebook at all. He was working an extra job. They were both working extra jobs. They were working really hard. And they just moved out of Naples. They just moved out of Naples. I don't know. I'm not really sure if they were working all that extra to get out of Naples. But the house that they were renting was foreclosing, and did foreclose, and they were living with his mother-in-law, and they left this past weekend, I think, or maybe it was the weekend before, or maybe it was just last week. But yeah, they're out of Naples. They're in Dade City, which I feel is on the East Coast. I really should take a moment to look that up. But he said it was about an hour and a half away from Orlando. And I'm thinking that's on the Turnpike. An hour and a half on the Turnpike. So I don't know. Maybe I'll see him soon. Hour and a half. We meet halfway. Sure. Have a beer. Yeah, that was my Naples news. Hey, I'm married. Back to the drudgery. There was something profound about the drudgery. Some profound understanding. I don't know. Maybe not profound about the drudgery, but the understanding about the drudgery. I'm not hating going back to work. I'm not loving it. I'm wanting more. I want to feel like I'm heading somewhere and doing something important. You know, that big picture, that horizon. Let's see. The last thing I talked about was firstly, thank you the people who watched the videos, watched the ceremony. Actually, a lot of people are watching the ceremony, the internet official ceremony. Thank you for the people who did it live. That was really Emily, Rob, Alan. There were a couple other people, and there were a couple of people who saw it live that weren't even I didn't even know. I don't even know who they are. Maybe I can have a poll on Facebook. Who watched this live? Let me know. That would be interesting. Or maybe I wonder if there's a statistic page that will tell you, because it wasn't accurate as we were showing it. That wasn't, and I wasn't even paying that much attention to that. So I don't really know the view count and how. Whatever. Does it matter? Probably not. Back in humid, hot Florida. Apparently the humidity was down yesterday. But, yeah, just going out of Florida, the difference in humidity just hits you like a wall. So the humidity was down. That doesn't mean it was gone. I mean, not that it was gone anywhere. Vegas was interesting. Vegas was awesome. Vegas was disgusting. Vegas was... You need blinders when you go to Vegas. And it takes a couple of days to get used to adapt. And then you kind of just start overlooking and ignoring the seedy, shitty nastiness. And then you realize, oh wait, all of these places most of these places are connected, so you sometimes don't even have to go out onto out onto the strip at all and walk down in the bottom feeding areas. Took taxis. Never taken a taxi before. Took a helicopter ride. Never took a helicopter ride before. I'm trying to remember when what the last vlog was. I think it was we had just gotten back from the helicopter ride. That night we went to the Rainforest Cafe, which Sam was, oh really? Rainforest Cafe? Really? It was my mom's choice. We have one here in Orlando. We were just there last year. It's just this big themed, silly cafe, restaurant. Not a cafe. It's It's a restaurant, but very touristy. Very touristy. And you know, when you go away, you know, yeah, it's those are and kid friendly, very touristy and kid friendly. There weren't any kids at our party, well, aside from me, but it was a good dinner. It really was. And Sam met my aunts. I met my aunts. No, I've met them before, but not. I mean, it's just that you don't grow up with these people, you don't spend any time with these people, they're just these people. That's all they are. That's not good, that's not bad, that's not positive, that's not negative, that's just what it is. So, and we weren't sure, I guess, how many people we were having that night, because we were still waiting on things. We were still waiting to hear about things, and waiting on arrivals, I suppose. And Trip wasn't showing up till Saturday morning, and this is Friday night. So we had this big round table, and then these two tiny tables adjacent. My mom and her Mark and one of the aunts were sitting on the adjacent tables, and I was just like, yeah, they were just so far removed. You got that and then after, you know, we were still, the appetizers had arrived, and we had our drinks, and I was, why are you sitting over there? Move those tables and come join our conversation over here with the rest of the group. And that was like the highlight. That was one of the big highlights of, wait a minute, we do not have to be sitting like this. Just because these tools at the restaurant thought that was what was necessary. So we moved the tables around and got everybody around the table, and it was better. It was better because we could all have the same conversation. Weird how simple, silly things end up having interesting impact. The more importantly, my mom gave this really wonderful, moving toast. Have no idea what she actually said. It was one of the, you know, there's the reason that it's reasons like that where you go, yes, that's why you want to videotape everything. That's why you want to record everything. She gave this very wonderful, very sweet toast. Moved herself to tears. She moved me to tears. It was wonderful. And I just turned around to everybody. Okay, who's following that? Nobody. Gee, thanks, guys. But you know, I mean, it was a very small group, and I'm very grateful for that. I really am, and I'm grateful for the fact that we didn't have any of the ceremony, the senseless ceremony and routine that goes with wedding ceremonies and receptions and all of that. I mean, our actual, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but our actual wedding was 10-15 minutes, and there was a lot of photography. You know, Coy did the our genuine photography, and then we had to pay the chapel photographer that we only got 10 pictures out of. So it was. But I mean, in the grand scheme of the silliness of wedding parties, which I just don't dig. I just don't. It's just confusing to spend all of that money to do things that you don't really care about doing in the first place. Big expensive dinners for all these people. I'm just so grateful that it was such a small party. Just a very, I think we totaled, with Sam and I, 13 people. 13 people total went to dinner Saturday night. It was great. And it was, and by virtue of Vegas, the most important, you know, what is important to realize is that all the important people were there. All the people that should have been there were there. Because those who shouldn't have been there didn't make it. Those that couldn't be there, those who didn't belong there, those who probably shouldn't have been there, couldn't make it. So it was just a good process. And the people that wanted to be involved and see the live ceremony, I mean, who were literally physically unable to be there, I mean, you guys all watched that and were part of that, and that was fantastic. So, I mean, I'm not being inflammatory, I'm not being antagonistic, I'm just saying it was perfect. Trip arrived Saturday morning, and I'm so honored that he was there. I'm fortunate to have known him and to have him be there, because he was a lifesaver in many ways. Kind of like this emotional and psychological lifesaver for me, because I needed someone like him, and I needed him, is what I realized today, to be there with me that day. He just on a completely different note, just on a friendship note, it was amazing to meet him. And Sam was with us till in the morning. He showed up early in the morning. We spent the morning together, had met and got to know each. Actually, Sam went with her father that morning at some point after the initial greetings. I mean, and then Trip and I just hung out and talked, and we talked about the videos on YouTube and what he's doing with his stuff and my producing ideas and what I think my ideas for him. It was just you know, that perfect fit. It's like, yes, this is what we need. And then just throughout the day, as the hour approached, and I should say that I was never nervous about it. I was never nervous about tying the knot. Here's where things got complex. By now you've seen the ceremony. By now you know what it was. That was written and prepared about a week ahead of time. And this is how it went. I sat down a little after our first video chat with Trip, and I mean, I knew I was going to write something. I didn't know what I was writing. I looked at some reference material, you know, the internet's definition of creative vows, which weren't. It was funny. Look them up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Really? That's your creative vow? I guess anything from the standard, will you, in sickness and in health, will you, yes, I do, you know. Anything outside of that standard stuff, I guess people assume is creative. So I just began to I jotted down a few notes, and then I was like, well, let me see how this will work. And I wrote pretty much that whole script from Sam's first line. No, literally Sam's entire vow packet, her opening vows, to the very end. to Trip going, okay, on that note, that was the whole production. And it went through, revisions. They weren't huge revisions. They were, okay, we're changing this line. The biggest revision came after my mom gave her speech Friday night. So Friday night, Saturday morning was when I rewrote the biggest chunk of my vow, which was at the very end, at the beginning of the very end, because that just was never working for me, and I didn't know the original draft. I wasn't sure what to do with it, and then there came my mom with her little toast, and I was like, oh, okay. So I rewrote that, and but the point was, we had a very solid working draft at least a week ahead of time. I had spent a good portion of time with it, and I kept bugging Sam, have you gone over it? Have you looked? Have you reviewed? We were supposed to have a rehearsal Saturday morning just to run through it, and we rehearsed the ceremony. It didn't happen. Not for the lack of trying. We never ran through our scripted bits once. There was no plan to actually have physical scripts. Maybe notes somewhere, but not. I didn't want to be using the phone. That'd be silly. So I put the scripts together and printed them, I put the scripts together, hand wrote the scripts, and copied them for the ceremony, and Sam was just she had no idea. She didn't know what she was doing because we hadn't seen each other for hours, and I was like, so when she saw me, when she came to the procession, I don't have anything. I got you covered, and I pulled her script out and gave that to her. And it was just like the internet ceremony. So if you saw, it was working off the script. Not really. Actually, it was better than that because Sam tried to go off script on the internet ceremony. If we had a chance to do it, if we had a chance to run the lines a couple of times, we would have been able to do it. It was 60 to 90 seconds worth of material, maybe 2 minutes if we really kind of milked it and played with it a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was the act of scripting it, and scripting it the way I did, and I'll talk more about it later. I'm at work, some more of the detail, but the act of scripting it was very personal, and of course, Crumbine's wedding ceremony had to be scripted like that, right? That it had to be. The fact that we didn't get a chance to rehearse it, and the fact that we needed the actual scripts right there, in hindsight and in the bigger picture, that's just an even better representation of the fact that of how involved we were, and how personalized and that ceremony was to me and to Sam, and how important it was for us. I think that script was a representation, was a literal representation of the fact that it was scripted. That effort had gone into it. So in that frame, I think it was really good that we needed it. Yeah. Stay creative.